Barry Hess has been an active pro-liberty libertarian since 1987. He served as vice chair of the Arizona Libertarian Party and as Libertarian Precinct Committeeman. Barry was a lone vote from a body of 1,000 citizens from all 50 states against instituting electronic voting to replace the verifiability of simple paper ballots. He unsuccessfully ran for governor of Arizona. He holds the distinction of having received 10 times the media coverage of any libertarian in Arizona's history. He has visited with us before, but not for a while. Barry Hess, welcome back to the Global Freedom Report. How are you, Barry?
Hey, it's a tickle to be back and to hear from you there, Brent. It's exciting.
I appreciate it.
Everything's always good and going on. That's what it is.
All right. Now, we don't have a lot of time before the break, but I have one very quick question for you. You know, you've been in libertarian politics for decades. Over that period of time, in general, how has the political landscape changed?
Well, in Arizona, I think what we've got is a kind of an extraordinary situation where people are responding. They're kind of caught half in between, still clinging one to the next. It almost relates to the question that Joe had earlier. There is an answer as to why Israel hasn't used their lobbying and legislative power in order to get rid of Obama, because they don't want to, and because they work for the same team. And that's the hard part for many people to understand, is that just because the other guy is bad does not by default make your guy good. You have to hold everybody to the same standard, even if it goes against your personal preference.
That's that's kind of how I would have put. If I might not have put it in those words, but that's kind of the sentiment that I would try to convey. That these people are all part of the same criminal cabal. They all have the same basic agenda. They have different ways of achieving the agenda. It's kind of like you've got Stalin and you've got Hitler. Who's better?
Yeah, really. But this die was cast back at the RNC convention when it surprised everybody that Ron Paul did, in fact, have enough delegate support to get nominated. But they changed the rules, the famous cheating, lying sequence. When they accepted a cheater and a liar as nominee, they kissed off all possibilities of it being a Republican.
Of course, the obvious topic of discussion is the so-called elections, and I use the term real loosely. They are over. The victors have been declared. The losers have conceded defeat. What is your overall opinion of how the 2012 elections happened, not necessarily with respect to the winners and losers, but rather in terms of the mechanics of the election?
But, it's funny because I think that this is going to prove, as history unfolds, that this was a distinct time in an element, especially in this election, because it was the worst of the worst coming to the head. When you have for instance, the RNC down there so blatantly cheating, it meant desperation was in order. See, if they were definitely in full panic mode. And so they really kind of gave us the whole tenor of the election, which led more to, aside from an obvious loss, but it really led to kind of a serious malaise. And the problem was not only did they pick a bad guy who is unscrupulous, for those of us who know him and have done business in the same realm, but the problem really was that nobody had any reason to support him except he's not Obama.
Well, yeah, that's true. And, what I was saying before the break was that, when Boehner acted like the pig thug that he is, like I would say mafiosa, but that would be an insult to the mafiosa because they have some code of honor. When he did the things he did, what got me is that the people did not right there storm the stage, create a riot, and set things right. We've had decades of opportunity for people to do that, and they refuse to do it. Just go along, And I got to tell you the truth, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it.
Me too. Well, you know what my moment was, that I know exactly what you feel. It was if you remember that "don't tease me, bro" thing. If you saw the video, there were lots of people standing around, and they just let the cops beat up on them. And I was so ashamed to be an American that they beat the hell out of the cops and say, "Let the boy speak."
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you've got a docile, wimpy, cowardly population. And
well,
that's why these people do these things.
80% in the middle.
That's why these people do these things. They have no incentive.
Yeah, the good news is that that's the 80% in the middle. The people who want to pick winners, the people who just go along with the crowd, never realizing if you go along with the crowd, you're never going to get ahead of anybody. I mean, that's the 80%. Where the battle is won is in the 10% on either end, and of course we're on one end and we're fighting the 10% on the other end. That's really where the fight is. Like Ernie Hancock says so well. He said there's only two kinds of people: those of us who just want to be left alone, and those bastards who won't leave us alone.
Exactly.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The constitutionally disqualified Barack Obama has been declared the winner of the 2012 presidential election. What does this mean for America's social and political future, in your opinion?
Well, I think it means that people feel absolutely helpless. And they know it's wrong, and they know he shouldn't be there, and Lord knows there's a whole bunch of us. But the feeling has become, you can't fight City Hall. Just let them roll over you. And there's another thing. There's another element, because almost half the people in the country are now dependent on government. That also inhibits them from wanting to shut it down, because that's going to stop my welfare paycheck.
Well, I mean, and I don't remember who it was. One of the famous 19th century statesmen said that the moment the people realize that they can vote a larger portion of the treasury to themselves, okay, the downhill spiral will begin, and one of two things will happen: either you will shut down the government, or you will lose your liberty. That's it. Yeah, I don't know.
That's the choice. I'm taking the latter.
Well, but where are the rest of us? And I don't mean sitting in front of a microphone talking about it. I'm tired of sitting in front of a microphone talking about it like talking to a wall. You get people who say things like, "Hey, I love what you're saying. Yeah, go get them, Brent. But what are you doing? What are you doing to stop them?" And I'm not a violent person. I really am not. But I'm ready to see bullets put in the backs of the heads of these thugs. These are what this is what the founding fathers would have done. They would have put bullets in the back of the heads of these people. Be done with it.
I think you're absolutely right. They wouldn't have tolerated it, but then again, you were dealing with a 96% literacy rate where education is actually appreciated, versus today with a 40% functional literacy rate with we don't care. And part of the reason the young people that now some of them do, and they're just people in the whole world because they're fighting that fight. But many of the young people, all they've heard all of their lives is, "You're going to be paying for this. Get ready. You're going to be paying for what we get." And so they feel there's a lack of hope for their own futures, and you really can't blame them for that.
So just because you can't blame them I disagree. I think you can. They may feel there's a lack of hope, but there have been people like myself providing them hope, providing them options, providing them avenues. They don't listen.
Well, some do. You never know. Brent, if you touch just one person who turns it on, your whole effort will have been worth it. I mean, that's what we all look forward to. And what I enjoy more than anything else is when somebody says, "I heard your speeches back, 10, 15 years ago, and I thought you were crazy. And today I'd like to contribute to your campaign." It just takes a while sometimes.
Yeah, but the thing is, while that time is going on, the thugs are increasing their power, their influence, okay, and mathematically, there comes a point of no return. You don't think we've reached that point?
Look at the economics. Oh, absolutely. I think that for a large enough portion of the population, we have passed the point beyond which we cannot be pushed. We've had it. We're not moving back anymore. And we'll see how that plays out. I had hoped everything could be peaceful and calm. I am not so assured these days.
Yeah, I don't think it can be. Frederick Douglass said it. Power concedes nothing without a demand, without force. And we've tried, we petitioned, we've remonstrated, we've prostrated ourselves before the throne. Our repeated petitions have been met by repeated injuries. The famous "We Must Fight" speech by Patrick Henry. That, what is it that we have not done in the last 10, 15, 20 years? What more can we do? What is left to us except force? No one wants to hear it.
Well, but we continue on. We just have to make those calls, when they come up, and we hope they don't come up. But if they do, we have to be resolute. That's all there is to it.
What do you think Obama's reinstallation, I won't say re-election because he's legally ineligible to be president, what do you think Obama's reinstallation means to the rest of the world?
To the rest of the world, they are now viewing us in exactly the way that everybody in the world viewed the Soviet Union, if you remember. Now, that happened to have been my specialty. They were the evil empire, and that is the mantle that we have assumed in the world. You can't travel outside the country except for very rural-type areas where they don't have modern news without being, you can be spit on just for being an American in France, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Not just in France, all over the world. People talk about Americans now.
I'm in a developed nation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really a sad state of affairs. And the only thing that's going to save us, to bring us back to that America, the ideal America, is a complete overthrow of our government in the eyes of the world, for them to trust us. It would be much the same way that Iceland did. Well, Iceland's got the only growing major economy in the world.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Economy, but industrialized.
No.
But they've got a lot of business that goes on.
Yeah, they absolutely. And they put the bankers in jail. We don't care.
And so I'm not so pessimistic. I know it's going to get awful, horrible, bad, but it will the ship will right itself very quickly once people let go of the notion that government is there to take care of them. And I don't mean to say that, that they hate government. It's just that they realize government doesn't have any money. But, it's like the economics. Your question was, will it fall before the end of the year? It should have fallen 2 years ago. But they keep coming up with all of these mythical ideas, like the Fed, who has no money, buying back its own debt. Doesn't that strike anyone as a bit odd? They're just making more money to buy something that doesn't have any value that nobody else wants. And so, of course, it should collapse, but we just don't know when it affects it. The one thing I know for sure, I've seen economic collapses. This will happen in hours. This is not something that's going to be long drawn out. The first bank closes down, I guarantee you it's going to be across the internet in moments, and people are going to be running to the bank to get their cash.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it'll be that fast, especially in today's interconnected world.
Yeah.
The House was...
in fact... Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to mention there that I am so excited because I just finished writing my first novel. It parallels a lot of the contemporaneous situations. Now, it's fiction, of course. In fact, the president in mine is center of the book. His name is Abuan Mabuba, but you can get a sense of where it goes. But I think that it's the story that when it comes out, there's going to be a lot of people saying, oh, I didn't even realize that's what was going on. But, of course, it's fictional,
Please send me a copy.
I think you'll like it.
Please send me a copy when it's...
Yeah, we'll make sure.
Yep.
Well, we hope. I was going to wait for the hardbound and the publishers, but I might just go ahead and do this as an ebook, so you get it real quick. But in fact, we're just doing the final galleys on it now. But it's called The Peacemonger, and I own the website. It's not up yet, but it's going to be thepeacemonger.com.
Thepeacemonger.com.